Divorcees of Reddit, what things did your ex do before your marriage that, in hindsight, you should have known not to marry him/her? You know what? Nothing. Both of my ex-wives were excellent people. My first wife still is. That was my fault. She's just as wonderful, giving, and loving now as she was when we met. She has a wonderful husband, a great family, and she is still a good friend to me. My second loved me when I was healthy, and left me when I was sick. There was nothing in our relationship that ever tipped me off that she was that kind of person. Frankly, I thought that type of person was so rare I'd never meet one. For 14 years I loved her and believed in everything she said. Cancer is a methodica though. Some people get stronger. Some people quit. Knowing what I know now, I would not have married her. However, if I look back and deny myself the luxury of what I know now, I wouldn't change a thing. I was talking to my grandma, who is suffering from Alzheimer's. She was confusing my current wife with my ex. For instance, calling my current wife by my ex-wife's name. I took her aside at one point. She doesn't like being reminded of her deterioration in front of anyone. Big surprise. And told her my current marital status and the names of all involved parties. She had a lucid moment and looked me square in the eye and said, "You aren't married to Caroline anymore?" "No, Grandma." "But she was a rick. You know." "Grandma, you could have told me before I married her." "No, I couldn't. She may have been a rick, but you were an idiot." TLDR. My grandma is awesome, and I should have heeded her warnings. Cheated on and left her boyfriend to be with me. The innocence of youth. If they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. To this day, my ex-wife and I remain good friends. The best thing that came out of our relationship was a wonderful daughter. But the good friendship is a plus as well. I don't regret a single thing. To be clear, we were terrible spouses, a lot of fighting, bickering, incompatibilities, etc. But no regrets. He had his mother do everything for him. Balance his checkbook and pay bills. Fill out paperwork. Organized his life. Launder his work clothes. Among other things. He couldn't manage anything himself. He wanted a secretary. She stopped partying. Doesn't sound like a bad thing, does it? She calmed down, settled down, and became, if not the perfect wife, then certainly a good one. She changed herself into the person she thought I wanted her to be. She even changed her name. Her partying friends all knew her as Katie. But with me she became the much more reserved Kate. Names changed to protect the guilty. After a while, she resented the person that she'd changed herself into. And when Katie came back, she came back with a vengeance. Gambled away $250k within first year dating. Incapable of taking care of self. Unable to hold a job. I was stupid. That's impressive, gambling away that much money without having a steady income. It was an inheritance from his mother passing away. After that he averaged $600,120 per month. The day my grandfather died, I was crying on the front porch and he just stood there with his arms crossed and stared at me. I had to ask for a hug. He also did not come to the funeral, and when I was with my family afterwards he sent me several text messages asking why I wasn't home already. When I got home he guilt-tripped me because I wasn't home earlier for him to comfort me. Yeah, I was an idiot. Needless to say, the marriage did not last. I had 60 seconds to answer a text before he would freak out thinking there was a man at my house. I had to take my shower with my phone and sleep with it. If I didn't answer in the allotted time, he was at my house in 7 minutes. I was constantly accused of cheating, which I wasn't. I had to account for every minute of my time. I wasn't allowed to talk to those I loved dearly. He sold my MacBook on eBay and kept the money. I helped build his business into something that made money, and he stuffed me on even the smallest of things. He broke up with me every year before Christmas so he could avoid giving me a present. I loved him so much that I always believed it would get better. It only got worse. I don't even know who I am anymore. Among other things. He would not let me break up with him. I tried at least 3 times. As in I said, I think we should break up, and he said, no. We're not doing that. Now I wonder why I thought that was acceptable. He also had an uncomfortably close friendship with a girl he worked with. And it was practically a weekly thing for me to ask if he was involved with her. He always denied it up and down. Yeah. They're married now. Edit. I feel I should add that the last straw that finally gave me the push I needed to end things was when he asked for an open marriage. Gee. Wonder why he wanted that. Completely dominated my life. Told me what I was and was not allowed to do. Would respond physically if I misbehaved. It wasn't marriage, but I've been there. Oh. A few things. My 19-year-old self was too dumb and naive to see it. Got seriously upset because I ran into a friend I hadn't seen for a while. Who happened to be a guy. X yelled at me for talking to him. And flicked the guy off as we were getting in the car. This one. It took me many years to see how bad this actually was. He refused to let me listen to a certain band. Because he hated them. Well. While unpacking boxes, we had just moved into an apartment together. I found a tape of the band I had made. And was listening to it before he came home from work. When he found the tape later, he cut the tape up in several places. And unraveled the whole thing. All while cursing me out for daring to disobey him. I have more. But those are 2 that stand out from before I married him. It took me 16 years to finally leave. And it's amazing what nearly 2 years away from that kind of crazy can be. Edit, in case it's not seen. The band was They Might Be Giants. Second edit. And just because it's funny. He likes Creed and Nickelback. And made me listen to them whenever he was having a drunk tantrum at 2 AM in the morning. I should have known that there was a problem when every single one of his exes were labeled as crazy. He never ever admitted fault for any of his previously ended relationships. To be fair, one of them truly wasn't all there. But it should have made me wonder, is it really them that is crazy? Or was he actually the problem in those situations? I mean, most people have at least one ex that is a little loopy. But every single one? It should have sent off warning bells. So of course, within months of leaving him because he was sleeping with every chick on the block, I then became a crazy ex as well. Before we got serious, she had said that the husband's income should be at least $250,000 after tax and that the wife shouldn't work. She was serious. That kind of freaked me out. But we had lots of fun together and eventually she said she was fine with what I made, a respectable amount. But not $250,000 after tax. Then she left me for a much older and richer guy. I found out that she was basically ducking tons of rich guys the whole time we were married, trying to upgrade. Divorce is always good news. I know that sounds weird. But it's true because no good marriage has ever ended in divorce. It's really that simple. That's never happened, that would be sad. If 2 people were married and they were really happy and they just had a great thing. And then they got divorced. That would be really sad. But that has happened 0 times. Literally 0. Louis C.K. My ex is addicted to pills. One day I came home and she was cleaning the dishes with the toilet brush. I never looked at her the same way again. So the first time I met her family, I drove 1,500 miles to Nognoster. MO. When I arrived, there were 2 men leaving their home wearing suits and driving a rental car. When I asked who they were, her mom explained that it was 2 producers from the Jerry Springer show. They were there to interview her grandfather and her big brother. The episode they were invited to appear on was called Grandpa Stole My Wallet and My Girlfriend. Her brother couldn't go because his probation officer didn't want him leaving the state. Also found out right before we got married that she was cheating on her boyfriend with me. A man she then left me for again and is now divorced from. He was the same man before and after. I should not have said yes. I like the honesty. My dad is going through the same. Except now my mom says she's a les. Which you know. Wasn't part of the deal 24 plus years ago : I thought her eccentricities and manic episodes were just part of her personality and not bipolar disorder. Also, we married when we were 18. So it definitely would have worked out otherwise. Cheated on me 3 times. Yeah. I know. I'm dumb. Got very wasted on a very regular basis. Picked fights when wasted and it was always the other guy's fault. Oh well. That didn't change. My parents had the opposite problem. They started drinking less and stopped doing drugs and then realized those were the only things they had in common. They both individually went back to drinking after they split up, but oh well. Stood in front of me really angry. Stomping her foot like a spoiled teenager. Screaming that our relationship was about giving me what I want. I thought it was such a ludicrous thing to say that she couldn't possibly be serious and was just pissed off. Well, she was certainly pissed off. Turns out she was serious. too. Our relationship really was about giving her what she wanted. Barely got out with my sanity intact. She had this really weird fetish where she would dress up like herself and act like a ducking itch all of the time. After spending the night together the first time, she gets up late for work and angrily says to me, "Why didn't you wake me up?" That should have been my first clue that nothing was ever going to be her fault. I can see it like it happened yesterday. I wish I'd ended it right there. Having his mother tell me over coffee, "I never liked you until you got pregnant. And if I had my way you would have never dated my son." My ex-husband quit 3 jobs before we got married, for no good reason. This should have been a red flag. After we got married, he couldn't keep a job. And eventually just stopped working altogether. We couldn't afford a place of our own on just my salary. So we had to move in with his rich grandfather. That's what I realized that was his plan all along. Professional moocher. Oh. And he was also a total asshole. Live and learn. First time back at her place. She walked in and saw the cat up on a counter. She ran up to it, yelling at it about how it should know it's not supposed to be up there. It cowered in the corner. And then she smacked it hard before throwing it outside. Then she turned around, smiled and invited me in. Just a constant, repetitive level of disrespect and an expectation that we would always do things his way. I enabled that to a great degree. Because it was easier than fighting about it. We ate what he wanted for dinner. We listened to his stations on the radio. We watched his shows on TV. We went where he wanted to go on vacation. And we did what he wanted to do in bed. The same boring way he always wanted to do it. Whenever I tried to buck the system, our marriage would hit a rough patch. And he'd go out and find a nice pair of legs to take a vacation between. I was 19 when we got together and fresh from my sheltering parents' house. What did I know? He had me good and trained by the time we were married 7 years later.